What's up, family? It's your boy Eugene from Kenya. So today we are going to talk about the issue of we Africans praising uh, the oppressors, if I'll say so. Um, you know, a lot have been done to black people. So today's video is about a South African lady who is questioning Africans, who is calling out Africans who entertain these people, who entertain their culture, who entertain a lot of things that they do. So I want you to watch this video and later on come back and let's have a discussion about it. I'm saying it's a discussion because I'll expect you to say something in the comment section. Yes, so let's watch the video and then come back.
If you're white and or African, watch this video until the end. Dancing to Amapiano music and speaking indigenous languages is engaging in African culture. And so the fact that African people applaud white people for engaging in our culture is not a reflection of ourselves or our intelligence. It's a reflection of white people. It shows how little effort collectively you put into learning African people's cultures, and you have the luxury of doing so. During colonization, we were forced to learn English, to act like white people, to dress like white people in order to survive. Colonization has ended, but we still have to speak like white people, we still have to act like people, we still have to dress like white people in order to survive in modern society. We can't even wear our half-naked traditional attires because they are considered public indecency in our own country. And so, if white people put in that much effort into forcing people to assimilate into white culture during colonization, where is that energy now today in absorbing our culture? No one applauds black people for speaking English. Most of us can speak English. No one applauds us for knowing the lyrics to a Taylor Swift song and whatnot because of the fact that white culture is considered the default. And so when black people do that, it's not an act, it's what is expected of us. But then when white people dance to our music and speak our languages, it's a performance because no one has expected that of them. And so when black people actually applaud them for that, it's not because we are stupid. It's because they feel acknowledged, because of the white people normally don't care about our cultures. And then when you bump into a white person who does that, it gives them a warm feeling because they finally feel recognized. The fact that white people can live in an African country without ever having to learn an African language and it won't affect them in any way, they can still survive, shows privilege because black Africans can't survive in Africa without learning English. You can't get job opportunities. White people complain a lot about the fact that black people make everything about race and whatnot, and about the fact that, we're all a rainbow nation and whatnot. But then for unity to happen, that takes mutual effort to actually learn each other and to appreciate and value each other's culture. There's no way that there can be unity when black people have to go through all that labor every single day to be able to function in their own country. But then white people don't have to do that. And it ends up causing the same segregation that you're constantly advocating against. How? Because when you're only speaking English or speaking Afrikaans, it effectively shuts down your communication with black people who can't speak English. And that's how we end up having society being divided. And so honestly, I feel like white people can do better. And as black people, we didn't go through all that colonization and being forced for us to applaud someone for saying Salibonani Unjani. And so basically, white people, just do better, learn our cultures, learn our languages. It's nothing amazing. It's the bare minimum.
This is the racist important questions. This is the racist important issues that I believe we all need to question ourselves about those issues. As a black person living in Kenya today, I've seen the extent in which the European culture has eroded a lot of things in our country, like Kenya. And well, as we still embrace that, we see it on the positive side. But as a Pan-Africanist, you also need to see it on the negative side, So a couple of things that the sister have raised that I'll talk about is first, He talked about living in African country without learning language, whereas Black Africa, you cannot get a job without your mother tongue. Yeah, it is so sad that you can't go to any African office today and you expect to get a job with your mother tongue. You cannot. It's either you have to speak English or Swahili, you know. So this implies that the colonial language has been used to gauge whether you can get a job or not. And that's the extent of neocolonialism, what is happening to Africa today. These are things which are so sad. You have to speak in English, you have to speak a clear English so that you may be employed. Okay, let me say this quick. There was a Chinese company in Kenya which was employing people. You have to have like 2 certificates so that you can get the job. The Chinese languages that they study is called HSK1 and HSK2. What does this mean? This means that even the Chinese in Africa, Kenya, before they employ you, you have to know to speak their language, Chinese. Whereas we Africans, there is no place you can be employed because you know your mother tongue. You cannot be employed. The only place you can be employed is when you know English or at least Swahili, but especially English. This shows the extent in which the damages of neocolonialism, the damages of what the oppressors has done to us, you know. This also explains the Stockholm syndrome, where the oppressors now get used to being oppressed and sees it as, you know, a good thing, and they embrace it. And that's what we do. Right now I'm here speaking to you. I'm speaking to you in English. Totally understandable, because you don't share one common language. This video is going to be viewed by different people outside there. Whereas when it comes to business communication, jobs around places where people are centered, like in an area where people know each other, it is difficult for companies to employ you because you speak your mother tongue, as I've said earlier. Another thing that I'd also like to address it is we have Indians, we have Chinese, we have Europeans, we have Caucasians who are coming to Africa. They still don't take time to learn the African languages, at least Swahili, you know. It is the environment that forces them to, you know, speak Swahili. And I also see sometimes on the internet people praising white people when they sing African songs, people praising other people, you know, people praising them because they're just singing. We should not be praising them. They also ought to know our African language. It is two-way traffic. You want to do business with Africans, speak Swahili at least, because that's what unites Africans, especially in East Africa. If you want to do business in Kenya, learn to speak Swahili. And that's why we encourage, we always encourage people who are coming to Africa to learn some local language. It is not just we are trying to compete with you. What we're trying to do is we are also trying to make your safety be survivable when you're in Africa. So another thing that I'd also like to say is that at least for Chinese, yeah, for Chinese, they're trying to speak some Swahili in our country. They're learning, at least in China, Swahili is being taught as a language, and I am happy for that, because Swahili is going, it's taking, you know, it's a language which is now being talked about in the world. People are trying to learn that language. But we need to do much. We as Africans, we need to do much. We need to do more. We need to do more. Tell you what, I understand we have preferences in everything. I'm happy that today Afrobeat it's being heard internationally. In the past, songs like those, you know, Amapiano, Afrobeats were only heard in Africa. Thank God due to globalization of music. Now, things like genres like Afrobeats, uh, Amapiano are being danced, are being jammed on, like in the European countries. That shows how we African countries, we are developing our own culture, our own music taste, in as much as we embrace other songs, because even if you look at songs like pop R&B, they are all songs for the Black Americans, which generally migrates to African still. But if you want the African authenticity, we want our songs like Afrobeat, like our piano, like bongo, we also want them to be heard outside African border, and we are still yet to achieve that. It hasn't reached the point where we see this happening in our neighboring continents. But I'm glad that we are now trying, but that's not still enough. Our African culture need also to be respected, just like any other African culture. And so with that, guys, tell me what you think in the comment section. This is Eugene from Kenya. This is Eugene, your African kid. Until then, peace, love, and harmony. Salute.